welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to talk about Impact Wrestling from January the 27th, I believe it was. I don't know what date it is, man. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was burnt out. So Impact continues their run of good to decent shows. Impact was virtually unwatchable in certain parts of 2021. It was a miserable experience to watch Impact. It's not that anymore, which is good. So let's get into the show. First match. Well, for starters, before we can get to the first match, Matthew Waywalt is on commentary. He wasn't doing a very bad job either. You know, he wasn't as boring as D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown was awful. Oh my goodness. Ugh. I'm glad he's gone. Let's say. So anybody other than D'Lo Brown was good, or Josh Matthews. They were both awful. So Jake Something defeated Chris Bay. This is a match I was particularly interested in, considering I like both of these guys. I think both of them should be getting pushed, not necessarily that either one of them should be, losing to the other. I definitely think Chris Bay should be doing more. He's been in the opening match of pretty much every Impact for the last 2 months or something like that. But whatever. After Jake Something won, he won with like a giant boss man slam. Jake Something was attacked by Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. I was surprised to see them. Even I avoid spoilers, so I didn't know they were coming. Speedball Mike Bailey came out there to make the save. Then Jay White attacked Mike Bailey from behind. G.O.D. yelled at the camera that this is their house now, and they challenged the Good Brothers for a tag team title match. This was very interesting because it tied into what took place last week. Ace Austin came to Mike Bailey and Jake Something afterwards, saying, hey, I thought, I told you guys this place was dangerous and you guys might need our help, because he told Mike Bailey the previous week, almost like prison, you might want to need some friends in here. So Mike Bailey decided to take him up on it. But Jake Something, he don't like Ace Austin. In fact, he has a memory, which is rare in wrestling. Jake Something reminded Ace Austin that he tried to have sex with Eddie Edwards' wife. Ace Austin was like, look, allegedly, Bailey then asked, because he's the naive babyface, Mike Bailey asked Ace Austin for some help, saying that, hey, we got to take care of this Bullet Club thing. They beat us up. And Ace Austin was like, you know what? I would love to help you guys, but we kind of got things to do. We're kind of, we literally got other things to do. We don't have time for this. And besides, we don't want to have to go through the management and all that kind of stuff. We're busy. Jake once again brings up that Ace Austin tried to bang Eddie Edwards' wife. So then Fail Gail Kim was eavesdropping, came in and made the 4-on-4 match. Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, Mike Bailey, and Jake Something against the Bullet Club, which would be Gorillas of Destiny, Jay White, and Chris Bay. That match will be next week. So I like this. Ace Austin is doing something interesting. Chris Bay is involved. Jake Something is involved. 3 guys that I like. I can't complain. At least they're doing something. I love Jay White too. Gorillas of Destiny, one of my favorite tag teams outside of the Usos. They're fantastic. They don't get their same. I don't think they get the same level of respect as the Young Bucks, even though they're better than the Young Bucks and far more interesting than the Young Bucks. But we got another. This thing wasn't over because after the Gorillas of Destiny made their challenge, the Good Brothers ran to their friends, Violence by Design, and the Good Brothers went over to them and said to them, "Hey, look, this Bullet Club thing, this Gorillas of Destiny thing, this is going to be a problem. This we're not liking this too much." Eric Young says, "Oh, that got nothing to do with us. It's not a Violent by Design problem. This is a Good Brothers problem." So Carl Anderson reminded Eric Young, when you guys needed help with that whole Rhino thing, you guys came to us and we were willing to help you. Now it's time for you guys to return the favor. And says, there's some violence in it for you. And Eric Young was like, okay, if it got something to do with violence, we got to get involved. So the partnership is going to be back together. So I'm guessing that Violent by Design and the Good Brothers are going to work together to combat the Bullet Club after the Bullet Club dispatches with Jake Something, Ace Austin, and Madman Fulton, and all these guys. Not good for me, considering the guys that I'm okay with, which is Jake and Ace, are going to get just stomped by the Bullet Club, and then a bunch of guys I don't like are going to now get involved with the Bullet Club. But then again, I don't care for the Bullet Club anyway. I just like G.O.D. and Jay White, and I like Chris Bay too. So I like these guys. I'm just tired of the Bullet Club concept, and I'm surprised that they're still doing it in 2022. For Christ's sake, this shit started in like 2014. It was probably before that. It's got to be like 2013, right? And when the Bullet Club really became a big deal, man, probably even before. It might even been 2012. It's been like 10 years of that shit. Anyway, it's at least a good story that, it's a story that weaves throughout the show, which is what I say AEW should do, and they refuse to do it, and WWE refuses to do it sometimes. This is not even the A story of the show. It's just one of the stories of the show. The actual A story of the show, the actual draw, is the Honor No More stuff. So they're floating around in the crowd. Honor No More. That being PCO, Vincent, Matt Taven, Maria, Mike Bennett, and I think there's another guy, but I don't know who he is. I don't remember off the top of my head. They're floating around in the crowd. Eddie Edwards and his merry bowl of Impact guys, which includes Rhino, Rick Swan, Willie Mack, and I think Chris Sabin. They're in the ring with kendo sticks. Like, my God, kendo sticks. And they're demanding that Honor No More get in the ring and fight them. But security is holding them back. Scott D'Amore gets a microphone and standing on the ramp. He starts cutting this promo on Honor No More. And this promo is filled with profanity, by the way, because him and Maria are yelling at each other and they're cussing. From the best of my recollection, because I didn't write down word for word what they said. Scott D'Amore was talking about Impact is welcoming to the best of anywhere. And, anybody who considers themselves the best can come here, and he don't have any problem with Ring of Honor's best being on Impact. But Honor No More are not Ring of Honor's best. In fact, they don't even work there anymore because they've all been fired. And then he said that they're just 5 carnies looking to cause mayhem. And then, of course, he says that Roxy represents Ring of Honor, Kerry Silken represents Ring of Honor, Jonathan Gresham represents Ring of Honor, but these 5 don't. They're all just carnies. Maria starts yelling from the crowd. I think they gave her a microphone, which, of course, defeats the entire she's an intruder kind of concept if you give her a microphone. And then she says, why should we play by your rules? Which I was like, okay. And then she says, we just want an opportunity. I'm like, wait a minute. If you want an opportunity, you have to play by the rules, right? I'm going to overlook that, all right? I'm going to overlook that. Scott D'Amore, of course, said they don't deserve an opportunity, that they're idiots who came out there and trying to interrupt the show. Chris Sabin decided to talk and said that, before Chris Sabin talked, Scott D'Amore said that they're going to have a 5-on-5 match at No Surrender. And if Honor No More wins, they can stay. But if they lose, they got to get the hell out of here. They got to go. Then Chris Sabin talked and said that nobody wants to wait. He said, so I'm willing to fight anybody from the Honor No More stable. PCO jumped the barricade, so he's going to be the opponent for the evening. So it's going to be Chris Sabin and PCO in the main event. But before that, they are allowed to, Honor No More being, they are allowed to hang around a little bit. So Scott D'Amore takes them to the janitor's room where they keep spare paint and electrical boxes and all kind of shit. And that's their locker room. And they argue with him about it, about the conditions of the locker room that they're left in. He said, look, we got locker rooms, but everybody in the locker room wants to kick your ass. So this is like a safe place for you guys to hang out. So as he's bringing Honor No More in there, Kerry Silken shows up. And I never really realized how much Kerry Silken looks like Vern Gagne in the later years. If you've ever seen... Vern Gagne, like when he got old, that's kind of how Kerry Silken looks. And Kerry Silkin shows up. He shakes hands with Scott D'Amore and all this kind of stuff. Um, then Matt Taven and Maria, they cut into Kerry Silkin. Maria is complaining that she uprooted her entire family to go work in Ring of Honor, and now that she has nothing. That what did she tell her kids? That Ring of Honor has gone out of business and all this kind of stuff, and he isn't quite sure what to say. And then Matt Taven gets in his face and say he spent the last 10 years in Ring of Honor, and if he killed Ring of Honor, he's glad that he did. Which I love an honest Matt Taven. Everybody knows Matt Taven was terrible, right? We all agree Matt Taven is awful. He's objectively awful. And definitely one of the reasons why Ring of Honor is dead today. Maybe it's not dead as far as it's gone out of business, but it's dead. All right. it's pretty dead. But Kerry Silkin says that Kerry Silkin tells Matt Taven that he never had any honor. He never had any honor to begin with. And I was like, oh wow, that's kind of crazy. I'm guessing these guys aren't going back because I know people have said that Ring of Honor is not dead. I know Joe Koff and all these people are, Ring of Honor is not dead. It's coming back. We're going to have a Hall of Fame. I'll talk about that later. And I was like, okay, but we'll see. I know they're supposed to have Super Card of Honor. It's going to be Bandito versus Gresham, the interim champion Gresham versus Bandito, and they're going to wrestle for the title and all that stuff. I doubt Ring of Honor comes back the way that it was with the same sort of panache that it had before. So this leads to the main event, which was PCO versus Chris Sabin. PCO defeats Chris Sabin with the Bubba Bomb, which is the full Nelson that requires for you to jump and land on your spine, I guess. Chris Sabin then, of course, is pinned and then is jumped by Honor No More. They stomp him out. The Impact guys come in to make the save, and they run off the Honor No More guys after, some people got beat up. So it was fine. I like the setup, that there are some stakes for their match. If they don't actually win, they have to go away, which means the Honor No More is likely to win. I know for a fact PCO is signed to Impact. The others, not so much. I'm not sure. I know that Bennett and Taven are still doing NWA stuff. I know Impact contracts don't seem to be exclusives, so I'm pretty sure they can do NWA and still work in Impact. But I don't know. Like, I would think that they should. I don't know if it's the best utilization of Vincent. If I had to nitpick this thing, I think Vincent is a guy who should be on his own because he was doing so good with the Righteous. He doesn't need to be a part of this horse shit. This is like the third week I've talked about this. Him and Taven almost killed each other. And if we're going to use Ring of Honor continuity in Impact, if Ring of Honor was dead and gone and we're going to erase the continuity, okay, they can be partners and friends on one team. But if we're using Ring of Honor continuity, which is what they're doing, how do you get over the fact that these two was almost trying to kill each other? It makes no sense. Also, they should have had Vincent get a title shot on one of these Impact shows. But I think Vincent is, as sort of Diet Bray Wyatt, is better off on his own if he was able to bring the Righteous into Impact. That would have been great. So that's my only nitpick, though. I don't think it's the best use of Vincent. I don't care what Matt Taven or Mike Bennett are doing. I don't give a shit. And PCO is like 60. Any check that he can get at this point is a good one. And I'm glad he's still around. And you know what? He's pretty mobile for a guy in his 50s. He doesn't look great, but he doesn't look that bad either. He seems to have some pretty good conditioning. So our next segment was Madison Rayne talking about tonight against the Inspiration. It's non-title, and it was only going to be a scouting match, despite the fact that I was told that they were going to get a title shot on Impact. So we were not told until match time that the reason it's non-title is because Tenille Dashwood is not there. Apparently, Tenille must now have had some COVID stuff and was pulled. So that led Madison Rayne to team up with Caleb with a K. So it's Caleb with a K and Madison Rayne versus the Inspiration in a tag team match, which should have been for the Knockouts tag team titles, but of course, Tennille was pulled. The Inspiration just won the match. Very bizarre decision making, not telling us. I guess they didn't want people to change the channel. But if you're watching Impact, you're watching it. I don't see like the big dips like you might see on Raw or AEW or something like that. I expect that if you watch an Impact, you just want to watch this whole show. So I don't expect like, oh, the ratings are going to go down because Tennille's not there and it's not a title match like it was advertised. I don't think anybody cares really. Giselle Shaw is the quintessential diva and will be coming to Impact. I don't know enough about this person to have an opinion. Mickie James did a State of the Knockouts division speech where she talked about this is the strongest the division has ever been, how they made history, talking about the Ultimate X match and Jordynne Grace being the digital media champion. Said that Deonna Purrazzo was the third greatest in knockout in history behind herself and Gail Kim. I think if Awesome Kong is on that list, that would make Deonna Purrazzo the fourth, actually, because you can toss those other three any way you like. Deonna Purrazzo got really upset and said she knows she's the greatest and this is a waste of her time. And so she takes her leave. She's also the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Mickie James then says that her plan is to win the Royal Rumble and challenge title for title at WrestleMania to see who the real women's champion of the world really is. Chelsea Green gets in the ring and she kind of hypes up Mickie and says, "Oh, Mickie, you said if. Don't say if. You're one of the greatest. You'll win." And then afterwards, I want the first title shot. Real snake shit. With this led Tasha Steelz to interrupt because she won the Ultimate X match. She's the number one contender technically. She of course bragged about beating Chelsea Green twice and said that touts how she won the Impact Knockouts tag team titles when they returned, and that there is not going to be any WrestleMania for Mickie James, and she's going to be the new champion. After they get in each other's faces, they ended up getting into a fight with Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans, Mickie James and Chelsea Green. You already know the tag team match is going to be announced because they have to make it super obvious. I like this. I think it was fine. I don't mind champions doing a state of the division. Like, if you're the champion, you're the leader. So I'm okay with them doing like everybody's around the ring and they're listening to the champion put them over. Because that's what Mickie did. Mickie put over the tag team champion. She put over Jordynne Grace. And it was all fun and games. Until, the heels got upset because Mickie was putting herself over too much. So and felt belittled. So I thought that was good. I didn't mind that. Steve Maclin is backstage throwing a fit because he lost the Ring of Honor World Title match he was granted. He blamed the rules, saying that it was Ring of Honor rules. This is Impact. They should have had Impact rules. And as he's throwing stuff and really acting out, Jonathan Gresham approached him and said, "Okay, well, you sound like you want a rematch. You know where to find me. This time, we'll do it under Impact rules, no pure rules." And of course, Maclin agreed to that challenge. Okay, so Jordynne Grace responded to Matt Cardona. She called him Zach at first and said that his internet championship is outdated and accepted his challenge for the digital media title. She, of course, made him sound really old by saying, "Oh, when you were the digital media, when you were the internet champion, MySpace was a thing." And she said, "Please, when you lose, don't go complain on LiveJournal." I don't understand any of that stuff. And I don't like this digital media title. I think it's stupid. Another match, Brian Myers and the Learning Tree versus W. Morrissey. The Learning Tree has now ballooned to 9 men. So Brian Myers talked about he had some new recruits from the Learning Tree Performance Center. So he brought out 9 new recruits. All of them wrestled Morrissey and got beat up. All 9 of them. It was complete comedy with Myers being on commentary, watching all his students get beat up. Okay. It was solid enough to get Morrissey over, but none of these people looked legitimate in any way. So they were all interchangeable bodies that just got thrown around. And it made Morrissey look like an absolute beast. So I'm okay with that. All right, so Raj Singh, who's still around, said that his time is now and his luck will change and he's going to bring a new recruit. John Schuyler interrupted and said that John Schuyler complained that Raj Singh is wasting his time and that time should go to him. So Raj Singh said that he will be wrestling his new recruit next week. I forget what the name of the recruit is, but they call him the Indian Tank. So we got Indian Lions, we got Indian Tanks, whatever. But it sounds like it's going to be a big guy. So, all right, whatever. Johnny Swinger wrestled Jonah. Swinger has a dungeon now called Swinger's Dungeon, which is a wrestling school. Swinger's Dungeon. So, Jonah beat up Johnny Swinger actually after hearing about this wrestling school. This, of course, was noted for it because Dan Lambert was still there in Impact, which was interesting enough. Decay also showed up to hang around Johnny Swinger. I'm not sure what's going on with Decay and Johnny Swinger, but there's something apparently going on with Decay and Johnny Swinger. Of course, Jonah won the match between the two of them because why wouldn't he? Dan Lambert didn't do anything. He was just present. So, that's the show, and maybe Dan Lambert's involvement in Impact will continue, and he's going to be doing something else in terms of maybe mentoring Jonah. That ought to be fine. But Johnny Swinger having a wrestling school, we need to do that. We need vignettes of that. We need segments of Johnny Swinger's wrestling school. We need that immediately. I mean, absolutely immediately. All right, so before we get out of here on Impact, let's talk about this Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. Both Impact and Ring of Honor are celebrating 20 years of being in business. Technically, Ring of Honor still exists. And so Ring of Honor will join all of the wrestling promotions except AEW in having their own Hall of Fame. We know that GCW had the Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame over the weekend at their Hammerstein Ballroom show. I didn't talk about that because a lot of those people were, again, independent. You know, it was what it was. I'm not really that deep into the indie culture in order to say what should or should not be going on. But I know it's up on YouTube if you care to watch it. I didn't care to watch it, so I didn't watch it. I watched too much wrestling. So, the Ring of Honor is going to have a Hall of Fame. It's going to be a 3-week thing. I believe they're going to have at least 3 inductees. They've asked the audience who should be the first inductees into the Hall of Fame. Of course, people said CM Punk and Danielson and Joe and Low Key and Homicide. And they just threw around all the guys that they knew. And it seems to be the smartest thing to do, but I think they should treat it like an actual Hall of Fame and have guys who are literally retired or dead in the Hall of Fame. So that's where I would start. I would start with guys who are dead, and then you come into the most recent guys. Most of the guys we can think of, Steen and Generico, yeah, probably all those guys will get in there eventually. I'm talking like the first few guys, though. Maybe they need to be big in order to have some real standing, but I don't see why anybody who still wrestles should be on the list. You know, Samoa Joe, and if he's going to continue to wrestle, he shouldn't be the first guy. I think that Xavier guy is dead. You know, I think he's one of the first Ring of Honor world champions, and he is dead. I think Low Key was also one of the first Ring of Honor world champions. He's still alive. Nobody likes Low Key, but I guess you can't ignore it, can you? So, have to be Xavier and Low Key. You have to have somebody there to have an award show or something like that. Even if it's just video messages, I think Low Key would probably be the best guy to do that. To, you know, accept some video messages or something like that from him. But I don't know how many entries they want to have. I would look at guys, some of whom will be under AEW contract, some of whom will be under WWE contract. I know Jamie Noble, former Ring of Honor world champion, under WWE contract. I think he works as a producer there or an agent. So there's some guys floating around that you could definitely put in there. So they have a long enough history to have a Hall of Fame. It's always going to be about, when are you going to put in the big names? Danielson, Punk, Joe, Homicide, those guys. The guys that everybody remembers. When are those guys going to go in? But I think if you blow your load by putting them in early, then nobody cares. But then you have to ask the question, how can Ring of Honor put in 2 or 3 people a year where Impact can barely get one person a year in their Hall of Fame? Impact, they put in one person a year. I definitely think they should do more than that. Definitely think they should have like 2, or 3. You've been around for 20 years. You should have a healthy Hall of Fame, especially since how many people have come in the doors and actually helped, build Impact. I know they don't really they have some legends, as far as Impact is concerned. There's some really high-ranking mid-carders they could probably put into their Hall of Fame to have a secondary guy. You could always do something where it's Monty Brown. Guy was a really big character in Impact. He never became world champion, but he was a focal point of the show for a long time. You got guys like Raven. You got guys like Rhino. You got quite a few guys that you could put in the Impact Hall of Fame. But I don't know if you really want to expand it too far. I know they've been trying to do 1 a year, but I think you should at least put in 2. At least 2, That 1 person per year thing is kind of silly. It's kind of silly. But let me know what you guys think of the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, Impact Hall of Fame, and all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.